you know, it's there for you to use. However, it's on your own.
All the while standing up to the city over a staircase.
That was Colin DeMello reporting. Now, Toronto Mayor John Troy acknowledged that this project costs and the projected costs for it were completely out of whack with reality. He said his staff has now been asked to revisit this project, come up with a new estimate. Right now on 7 Eyewitness News, across western New York, crews have been busy overnight. 2 tornadoes passing through our area, leaving us with a lot of damage.
The cleanup continues this morning here in Hamburg, the fairgrounds, getting ready for the Erie County Fair. But this morning, the barricades still stand after yesterday's tornado. We're bringing you up to date about what you need to know post-tornado.
This morning, we're live in Hamburg, tracking all the damage after 2 tornadoes touched down in western New York. We're checking the progress coming up.
And we're showing you what's next for our weekend ahead with your 7 First Alert forecast.
You're watching 7 Eyewitness News with Andy Parker, Katie Morse, Ed Dranch, and Autumn Lewandowski.
It is the top of the hour on a Friday morning. This is happening right now. Crews are out all around western New York working to get the power back on after 2 tornadoes touched down yesterday. I want to show you the scene right now on Meadow Lane in Hamburg. This is one of the hardest hit areas.
And those gusts of wind from those tornadoes so strong yesterday. Look at this. One family's car picked up and tossed around like a toy. That happened in Hamburg.
And some new videos and pictures are coming in from you this morning. This is an amazing video of that second tornado. This is the EF1 in Holland. This comes to us from Julie in Spalding. You can see the rotation in all of those clouds on the other side of the tree. Thank you so much for sending in those pictures. And at the height of all of this, more than 20,000 NYSEG customers were without power when the tornadoes touched through. And I want to show you now, as of 5:46 this morning, these numbers are updated every 15 minutes. So we're waiting just a couple more seconds to update. You can see about 1,600 NYSEG customers in Erie County without power still this morning. And the brunt of this is still in the town of Holland. We'll go down street level now and dip in and show you exactly where and when a lot of these power outages are going to be back on. NYSEG reporting that at 6 o'clock a lot of these power outages should be restored, but as you go further in on Portage Road and Phillips Road, you can see about 10 o'clock this morning other power outages are still being assessed this morning, so it's unclear when everyone in Holland will have power back on. At the worst of this, though, Katie, there were so many people in the town of Orchard Park as well who were without power. Those have been turned on for us this morning, but again, we'll stay on top of this and monitor it for you throughout the morning.
Yeah, we'll continue to check in there. And this morning, we're also following up in the areas that were hardest hit by those 2 tornadoes. We have team coverage from Liz Lewin. She's at the fairgrounds this morning. Tuila Nugent is on Best Street in Hamburg in our mobile weather lab. But first, we need to check in with 7 First Alert meteorologist Autumn Lewandowski. Autumn, people have so much cleanup that they're going to be doing throughout the day, and I know you were tracking that storm yesterday, and you took us right through its path.
Not only were we watching it from Hamburg at around 12:30 all the way to 2 o'clock in Allegheny County. As we look at the storm track, it was worth 80 miles going from the lakeshore right to Wellsville. Take a look at how we progressed through the afternoon. It was a couple hours that we were on air tracking it nonstop. We call it wall to wall. There were no commercial breaks during a tornado warning, and this was the moment it began. And what we were able to see on Doppler was that rotation taking place. It began right at the Hamburg Fairgrounds, and that's where some of the highest damage was found as well. The grandstands are right here. You go from South Park right to McKinley Parkway. The Hamburg Fairgrounds, they're calling it ground zero that it began. And then it traveled down to the southeast Chestnut Ridge. That was 5 miles worth of a track here and over 700 yards wide of damage. As we go throughout the day today, it's cleanup within that path. Temperatures are going to be in the lower 80s, early fog coming to an end, mostly sunny as we head into the afternoon. We'll talk about the rest of the day's forecast and the upcoming weekend coming up in your 7 First Alert 7 day.
Autumn, thank you. 6:02. The Hamburg Fairgrounds were hit hardest by damaging winds. Some workers found the windows to their cars smashed by flying debris. One car even had a stick impaled through the headrest. The McKinley Parkway side of the fairgrounds saw extensive damage from that tornado, and as Autumn mentioned, this was the path. It was the EF2 tornado that hit first. This morning, the fairgrounds, they are hours into the cleanup, and they have a deadline here, August 9th. That's when the fair opens. 7 Eyewitness News reporter Liz Lewin live for us at the fairgrounds for us this morning. Liz, what are you seeing? I know you just got in.
Good morning, Ed and Katie. I've now made my way into the property. I'm on the fairgrounds, the barricades behind me, but take a look around me. I'm standing in the midst of that debris from yesterday, from split trees to here. Take a look at this window, broken window. We've got insulation paneling to my left. This is a bit of what was left over from yesterday's tornado. And as you mentioned, Ed, cleanup is in order this morning. The fairgrounds were in full setup mode yesterday when that tornado hit. Between the couple hundred full-time staff, seasonal employees, and contractors, people have been putting in countless hours to get the grounds ready for that most highly anticipated event of the year, the county fair. Communications and PR manager Marty Binia says yesterday luck was on their side. Things could have turned out totally different.
It was very fortunate because during this time of the year, we're 20 days out from the fair. So at any one time, you've got a couple hundred full-time employees, seasonal employees, individual contractors who are preparing for the fairgrounds. A lot of the damage you're seeing, the kiosks, the picnic tables, the booths, and everything else that are putting on, we're just starting to go out into the fairgrounds.
Now, Binia says this is crunch time. Crews are typically working around the clock, setting up and putting finishing touches together. Things happened so quickly yesterday, and luckily, he says, no one was severely injured. Now, Rob, if you wouldn't mind just panning to that parking lot, take a look at the parking lot. That's where over 100 cars were damaged yesterday. As you can see, it's cleared out. I just saw Marty a few moments ago. He actually followed a tractor, so the cleanup continuing this morning. We're going to keep tracking it and keep you up to date as far as how they are doing here at the Hamburg Fairgrounds. We're live in Hamburg this morning. Liz Lewin, 7 Eyewitness News.
Okay, Liz, we'll check back in with you shortly, and we want to show you these pictures. This is Chestnut Ridge Park, right along the storm's path. Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz tweeting these pictures out. There's snapped trees, debris falling across trails there. Now, this is the park where hikers go see the eternal flame. Poloncarz says the timing of this storm was lucky because no one was hurt.
Ourselves very lucky that we have no reports of deaths or major injuries. If this storm had hit while the fair was in order, or if during a weekend when we have thousands of people in Chestnut Ridge Park, who knows what would have happened.
Union Road was closed for some time near the park, but it did reopen overnight. And it might look like a shot straight out of the movies, but this scene was actually Hamburg yesterday. Look at this. This video sent to us by a viewer. It shows that massive storm moving in, and if you look closely, you can see that funnel in those clouds. Now, Hamburg, we know, one of the hardest hit areas by these storms. Neighbors along Best Street are still working to clear out debris this morning, and that's where we find 7 Eyewitness News reporter Tweelan Nugent. She's live there this morning with our mobile weather lab. Tweelan?
A lot of progress has been made, but there is still a lot of work left to do as this street is still covered in just downed trees, branches, debris everywhere. I want you to take a look right across the street here. I spoke to the gentleman who lives in this house right here. He says this pine tree that you see right in front of you snapped right in half there at the top. The piece came down right to the side of his house, but it did knock over some debris onto his roof. There's a lot of exterior damage, but nothing you can see from the inside. He was standing near the window, not right by it, smart enough to stand far away enough from the window, but he says he was watching this all come down. All of this damage happened in less than 1 minute, if you can believe that. So all of these trees just snapped, and it took less than a minute. I also spoke to another couple this morning who has a lot of cleanup left to do. They have lost 2 patio tables. They have about 5 big trees on their property. All of those have come down, so a lot of cleanup here on Best Street. As you can see here, these trees just really snapped in half right at the trunk, and some of these trees are split vertically down the middle. Some of them came down on the power lines, and NYSEG is here on scene right now just to make sure nothing else comes down onto those and that cleanup goes along smoothly here. We're going to take a listen to Sheriff Tim Howard, who we caught up last night, about this damage.
The greatest loss is going to be to the power company and their expense for repairing it, but a lot of beautiful trees that are down on homes, and we've toured part of the area already, some areas that we couldn't get to. As the trees continue to be cleared, it's one of the reasons we have our ATVs here, that if we get an emergency call, we've got off-the-road vehicles that can get to these areas.
And luckily, a lot of people here reporting no injuries, just damage to their homes, and that's what's going to be the story today, is the cleanup, and we'll continue to follow the cleanup for you all throughout the day. Live in Hamburg, I'm Tweelon Nugent, 7 Eyewitness News.
Okay, Tweelon, thank you very much. So at the end of the day, we know we had 2 tornadoes here in western New York, an EF2 and an EF1. It's that EF2 that wound up hitting Hamburg first. It's determined by the National Weather Service, Autumn, but how do they figure that all out?
Well, you have to get the crews out to where the damage happened, and then they went up in a helicopter to survey where it went, kind of the storm path.
Sure.
And a lot of that has to do with what the damage is, not necessarily the exact wind speed that was happening. So if you have a shingle torn off a side of a house and then there's not really much else, then they kind of look at that. Take a look at some of the criteria here. Between 86 and 110 miles an hour in EF1, moderate damage, as I was mentioning, the shingles stripped and glass broken. In EF2, a car lifted. We had visual evidence of a car being lifted. So that's where it actually helps to get these images and even video to help determine what the winds were as it passed.
We saw that video of the car lifted off of its wheels up off the ground in Hamburg, and that's again where that EF2 hit yesterday afternoon, just about 12:30. We're going to stay on top of this one for you and bring you updates on our WKBW app as well as soon as we get more information from the National Weather Service. Katie, over to you.
Guys, thank you. Yeah, that video that they're talking about of the car being lifted, that came from you, because throughout the storm you sent us your pictures and all the videos. You can check them out right now on our WKBW app. You can also post yours to our Facebook page. We're going to continue our team coverage of the tornado cleanup in the next half hour and, of course, throughout the rest of your day.
Okay, 6:09 on a Friday morning. This is breaking overnight. A deadly under-the-sea earthquake hit between Greece and Turkey. I want to show you some new pictures coming into the live desk this morning from the Greek side. That's where 2 people died. The latest count says a total of 200 others were hurt. This was a magnitude 6.7 that caused massive damage and panic. Listen. This is actually in Turkey. You can get a sense of the panic as people ran through the streets. At this point, though, there aren't any reported deaths in Turkey, but at last check, 70 people were hurt. 6:10 on a Friday morning, 3 months from now, former Buffalo Bill O.J. Simpson will be a free man, out on parole after nearly a decade in prison. Simpson was unanimously granted an early release from his 9 to 33-year sentence for kidnapping and armed robbery. Back in 2007, this is all when it happened. The parole board in Nevada yesterday, where Simpson is locked up, said he has stayed out of trouble while serving his time. Retired State Supreme Court Justice Penny Wolfgang spoke with us about what's next for Simpson and the conditions he'll have to follow.
There's reporting. There's many conditions such as not associating with felons. There'll be drug testing. There may be alcohol testing. There's restrictions on leaving the state where you are in parole. So, and as I said, there may be others. You know, each state has different ones.
If his proposed release plans are approved, Simpson could be out of prison as soon as October.
If you'll be hopping on a plane anytime soon, you might not know what electronics you can and can't bring with you. So coming up, we'll tell you what the Department of Homeland Security says you can safely bring on your trip.
Also ahead this morning, a Buffalo woman makes a scary discovery while she's renovating her basement, and it ends with a bomb squad in her driveway. What they say was in her house, coming up.
And a lot of us use Amazon to make big and small purchases, but there are some items you want to stay away from. So what should you avoid so you don't waste your money? That's ahead. You're watching 7 Eyewitness News at 6.
You're watching 7 Eyewitness News. Let's bring you up to speed.
6:14 on your Friday morning. Welcome back. This morning, Republican leaders are trying to figure out exactly what they'll have to change to get enough support for their Obamacare repeal bill. The goal is to vote early next week, and President Trump told lawmakers not to leave for their August break without putting a bill on his desk. Today marks the final day to apply for New York's first affordable college program, the Excelsior Scholarship. If you still need to apply, you need copies of your 2015 state income tax returns, a student aid report, and a copy of a college transcript. You can find more details right now on our WKBW app. And today, the Big Yellow Barn in Clarence will be filled with music for Rock the Barn. Local bands like Bon Journey going to take to the stage. This all helps raise money for Meals on Wheels for more than a decade. This music event has attracted thousands. Rock the Barn starts at 4. It runs through Saturday.
And if we're getting you out on the waterways, we're watching temperatures in the low 80s for the day today. Waves are going to be right around a foot with that southwest wind around 12 miles an hour.
6:16 on a Friday morning. For a lot of us, Amazon is a go-to for everything from household cleaners, fashions, and even car parts. But there are some things you might want to stay away from. Consumer reporter John Metarese explains so you don't waste your money.
Amazon is the world's largest retailer. It's put dozens of competitors out of business when it comes to books, music, electronics, and clothing. Now it's seriously getting into groceries. But there are still some things you might want to avoid buying there. Amazon is more popular than ever, judging by the record sales at the 3rd annual Amazon Prime Day. We all know you can find great deals on toys, electronics, and many more items at Amazon. But what about groceries? Not so much, according to a report from MoneyWatch.com. It says you have to wait for shipment, plus you often have to order 6 or more of the same item. And do you really want ketchup in the mail? MoneyWatch also says it's not a great place to buy hardware and tools. You usually need those immediately. Plus, you want to feel a hammer or saw in your hand before you buy. Also, furniture. MoneyWatch says you should see and sit on a couch before you order it. From the Doesn't That Stink file, the fact that Amazon is sometimes more expensive than brick and mortar stores. MoneyWatch compared prices and claims Amazon is not very competitive when it comes to groceries and cleaning supplies. Doesn't that stink? It found all detergent, Mr. Clean, and Murphy's oil soap were substantially cheaper in local supermarkets. With Amazon's purchase of Whole Foods, we'll soon get very aggressive in groceries. But for now, the corner supermarket still has its advantages, so you don't waste your money. I'm John Metarese, 7 Eyewitness News.
6:17 on your Friday morning. This is an unbelievable story. A Buffalo woman is making renovations to her home. She ends up with a bomb squad at her front door after she spots an artillery shell in her basement.
We were talking about this on our Facebook Live that we do at 4:15 every morning. She says this shell dates all the way back to World War I. Judith Sobreski says she knew right away what it was when she picked it up. That's when she called police and ran outside of her Parkside home. It took officials 4 hours to remove that shell from her house. The Air Force was even there.
Wow.
6:18 on a Friday morning, nothing stronger than a mother's love. And a City of Tonawanda mom with the heart of a lion is fighting for answers when it comes to her little boy.
3-year-old Sebastian Scheffler was diagnosed with a syndrome called OTS2 in December. It can lead to serious health problems and developmental delays. The condition was only identified in 2013, and there are only a few dozen cases documented around the world. Now Sebastian's mom is getting answers for him and kids like him.
Choose his diagnosis, but it doesn't define him. Sebastian has an opportunity to help define what OTS2 means.
Amanda helped organize a new international study that's happening at the National Institutes of Health in Maryland. We have more on this incredible journey in a special 2-piece event airing tonight on 7 Eyewitness News at 6 and 11.
6:18 on a Friday morning. Let's get you out the door with the most accurate forecast. A lot of calm today, but a lot of cleanup as well.
Exactly, and we're going to do a lot of that as we go throughout the day today, especially those in Hamburg to Holland and even into Allegheny County. As we look at Skywatch 7, it's the sun coming up over some of the clouds. What a beautiful start. Although the haziness is in the air, it's going to be a sticky beginning to the day. What we're going to find are temperatures going from near 70 in spots into the lower 80s. And as we look at it, a wide shot here, you have to go far and wide and way to the south and west to find any thunderstorm activity. Not for western New York today as we get a little bit closer into our neck of the woods, not dealing with much. We do have some fog out there that we're contending with temperatures close to 70 along the lakeshore, lower 60s for the southern tier. And I was mentioning the fog, we're down to around a third of a mile worth of visibility from Bradford to Jamestown. Better off for Olean and Dunkirk and then towards Buffalo, but through the Niagara frontier, we're down to around a mile worth of visibility as well. So not extreme dense areas of fog, but you are going to come in and out of it as we go a little bit closer to the falls, and then through Grand Island, downtown Buffalo end up looking a whole lot better. Temperatures for the day today are in the lower 80s. The humidity will be sticking with us as well. We'll have a lot of sunshine out there. We'll call it for a mostly sunny day. Our Saturday is going to look a little bit different for a lot of different areas. We start in the 60s, we end up near 80 degrees, but some of those storms will be strong for the southern tier. Looking at it hour by hour, the clouds increase as we head into the afternoon. We'll find rain and thunderstorms right along the state line and even reaching up to about Niagara Falls and Buffalo. Some heavier downpours there, and then most part we're going to keep our eye right along the state line, potentially some stronger storms as we get into northern Pennsylvania, Bradford to Cottersport. Those that have any outdoor plans there between that 2 and around 7 o'clock time frame, you're going to have to watch the sky, maybe bring things indoors. As we go into the evening, we dry things out, still a little bit more cloud cover for the southern tier, and by Sunday we're going to have some scattered storms around as well. Temperatures will be close to 80 degrees. A frontal system passes by, cools things down with some thunderstorms on Monday, and then we're drier and then closer to average as we hit the end of the week near 80 degrees.
Autumn, thank you. A lot of people confused by these new rules of what we can and can't bring on a plane, but now Homeland Security is clearing the air, letting you know what electronics you can take with you on your next flight.
Also ahead this morning, Twitter is taking a stand against cyberbullying, how they're putting an end to internet violence coming up. 6:22, you're watching 7 Eyewitness News on a Friday.
It's 6:24. Welcome back. The Department of Homeland Security now says that laptop ban is lifted at airports.
The feds say 10 airports in Muslim-majority countries were still under the restriction, but they're now following new rules. That ban had been in effect since March. Ride-sharing company Uber is working to make sure all employees are paid fairly. Starting August 1st, Uber will work to provide equal compensation based on location, job function, and tenure. The change comes as Uber works to repair its reputation after a series of crises, including sexual harassment allegations. 625, Twitter is taking a stand against cyberbullying, and it seems to be working.
The company says it takes action on 10 times as many abusive accounts every day as it did a year ago. Twitter's GM says the company suspends or restricts thousands of accounts every day for abusive behavior. The Pew Research Center reports 4 in 10 U.S. adults say they've been harassed on social media. Well, this morning, National Guard troops are in Western New York. We'll have the latest on that tornado cleanup ahead.
And so many of you were eyewitnesses to this storm. Watch this video. We're going to hear from the guy who owns that Subaru that was rotated in the driveway. Straight ahead.
You're hearing from the Hawks this morning, that's for sure. As we walk out the door, it's a very warm beginning. Can you hear them? A lot of people are going to be doing a lot of cleanup, and we're going to have a pleasant day to get outside. We'll talk about it. It is now 6:26. You're watching 7 Eyewitness News at 6.
Bottom of the hour on a Friday morning. Today, it's the calm after the storm, and we're also tracking power outages affecting so many people around Western New York, thousands without power, but that number's gone down. What you need to know about restoration times, straight ahead.
This, just a bit of the debris that remains after yesterday's tornado blew through the Hamburg Fairgrounds. We're talking cleanup. What does the fair and the staff have to do before the Erie County Fair sets up? We're letting you know. That's coming up next.
We're live on Best Street in Hamburg this morning, where a lot of cleanup progress has been made, but there is still a long way to go. We'll take a live look coming up.
And after all the damage, we have a day of rest before more storms in that 7 first alert forecast. I'll show it to you coming up.
You're watching 7 Eyewitness News with Andy Parker. Katie Morse, Ed Dranch, and Autumn Lewandowski.
Good morning. Tree branches and debris scattered across lawns. This was the scene overnight on Marie Drive in Hamburg. It's one of the hardest hit areas when those 2 tornadoes passed through western New York.
Want to take you to the Erie County Fair. This is the damage they're contending with this morning with the fair just weeks away. Look at that. Metal mangled in front of the main gate. We're checking in with Liz Lewin, who's live this morning with an update. Good morning to you. It is 6:30 on a Friday morning. Thank you for joining us here on 7 Eyewitness News. There is one person who's not here this morning, Andy Parker, who was in the thick of things yesterday. Listen to this.
It is a blanketed gray sky. We've got some low clouds moving fast. Winds have shifted direction on us here a number of times. We've got it right there, folks. You can see it.
And you can watch this entire video right now. Again, Andy, right in the middle of that storm. That video is posted on our Facebook page. It's been shared a number of times.
Yeah, close to 1,000 times. He was actually broadcasting live on Facebook right when this EF2 tornado hit in Hamburg. Autumn Lewandowski is outside tracking our most accurate forecast for us this morning. Autumn, you were keeping us safe here in the studio. What do we need to know today?
Well, we were tracking it all afternoon, beginning by noon, and when the touchdown happened at 12:30, Facebook Live, and then on air all the way till 2. And this is the storm path with damage reports across western New York, going through central portions of Erie County, right into Allegheny County. 24 reports. We know a lot more has happened beyond that, but this is what was coming into the National Weather Service. Even that tornado being spotted in Hamburg yesterday afternoon. And as we went through the path south and east through Holland, there were several trees down and power lines down, things ripped right out of the ground as well. Canandaigua to Houghton, northern sections of Allegheny County. You go to Rushford Road near Centerville, and you had trees down across the roadways as well. Just near Hancock Drive, you could see that going from Rushford Road, and this was the look that you were able to see. A lot of pretty much roads like this across western New York, and no one was fatally hurt. So this was a very good outcome. Even though we have the damage, we have everybody still with us. Now, as we look at 7 Super Doppler this morning, let's get you out there. A lot of people doing cleanup today, that's for sure. We have people across western New York showing where the damage is and what we're going to do for the day is really warm those temperatures up as well. We'll be in the lower 80s for daytime highs. We'll have a ton of sunshine out there as well. So whether you're working outside or if you're going to be doing things outside, drink a lot of water, take a lot of breaks. It's going to be a warm, humid one. We'll talk a little bit more about the weekend coming up from the inside.
6:33 on a Friday morning. We're tracking the damage across western New York this morning. This is the aftermath of that EF1 tornado in Holland. This was the second tornado to touch down. This morning, there are some frustrated car owners around western New York. The EF2 tornado, the first one, blew out windows on dozens of cars in the Hamburg gaming parking lot. One car was actually thrown up against another. The storm affected 4 towns, Hamburg, Orchard Park, Collins, and Holland. This image tweeted out by Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz. Each X on the map represents a storm damage report. This was traveling west to east with 2 separate tornadoes touching down. And one of the areas hardest hit was the Hamburg Fairgrounds. This video was sent to us by a viewer showing the damage of a car in one of the parking lots. You can see the windows blown out and even some debris in the car and scattered all around. Our 7 Eyewitness News reporter Liz Lewin live for us at Hamburg Fairgrounds. Liz, I know you just spoke to a worker who said he'd rather be trapped in a snowstorm.
Good morning, Ed and Katie. Speaking of debris, I'm standing in the midst of it. I've spoke to workers, and now I'm speaking to the communications and PR manager, Marty Biniaz, here at the fairgrounds. Marty, simply put, where do you start?
Well, we started actually yesterday. As soon as we found out that the grounds were safe and we got people off the grounds, our crews and our contractors started to take down trees, remove wires. Our crews have been on scene since about 5:30 this morning, starting to reassess the damage, really get through this stuff to see what other damage might be around. We've got 19 days until the Erie County Fair kicks off. It is going to be a tight 19 days to turn the grounds around, but we've got an army of volunteers and friends and employees and contractors, and chances are when you come here on opening day, people aren't going to see the damage.
Well, you know, we say we're the city of good neighbors for good reason. A lot of people and volunteers coming out. Marty, thank you so much for your hard work. We wish you the best. And of course, we're all here supporting the fairgrounds. The Hamburg Gaming Center will open at 8 a.m. For now, we're live in Hamburg. Liz Lewin, 7 Eyewitness News.
Liz, thank you. Yeah, that Erie County Fair is set to start again August 9th. A lot of cleanup still. And this morning, the neighborhood around Best Street in Hamburg still cleaning. The tornado ripped up roofs and knocked out trees and power lines here. You can see it. Part of Best Street is still blocked off this morning. 7 Eyewitness News reporter Tweelon Nugent live there for us. Tweelon, show us the damage there.
Yeah, we're right on the line of Hamburg Orchard Park, but it's South Abbott and Best Street. But the damage here is astounding. So much cleanup has been done, but there is still so much left to do here. Take a look just right here. This tree completely flattened on its side, snapped at the roots, but a lot of it has come down here on Best Street, and some of the neighbors waking up this morning, seeing the damage again, and just all of it is kind of settling in. They're saying they can't believe this, and they've never seen anything like this before. But I did speak to a lot of the people who live in the neighborhood this morning. They say they heard some of the people who were home, they heard the rain, they heard the thunder, saw the lightning, and they thought it was just a really bad storm. And as they were going around their homes trying to make sure that everything was okay, they did just hear it. They say it got really eerie, and then all of this ripped through. All of the damage that you see done in this neighborhood was done in less than a minute. Everyone says it happened so quickly. I talked to a man who said he was watching it from his window, and he was about to run down to the cellar. Before he could even run down to the cellar, it was all over. And he came outside to see his garden had been kind of torn out of his yard, and the pine tree in his front yard had just been snapped in half, and part of it came down onto his roof here. But as you can see, the damage just astounding, and neighbors here are just going to continue the cleanup process today. But remember to stay safe while you're cleaning up. Wear heavy boots, wear gloves, because a lot of the injuries from tornadoes come during the cleanup. Live in Orchard Park, I'm Tweelon Nugent, 7 Eyewitness News.
Important reminders, Tweelon, thank you very much. Now, some of the most powerful images that we got from these tornadoes came from you.
And there's one that's been seen across the country this morning from Kevin Karras. He captured the moment the tornado lifted his car up off the ground. Watch. And it was all caught on his home security system. You can see the car and the trailer lift up off the ground in the air before crashing back down again. Listen to what he had to say.
I was, we were scared. The little baby was scared, so we just ran downstairs. The house actually shook, and if you look up there, there's some fascia and some siding damage, but that was about it. Shook a little bit, and then a lot of rain.
You can see the trampoline behind Kevin. He says that was actually from his neighbor's yard, but the car, really the biggest story. You can see more pictures on our WKBW app right now.
This morning, Senator John McCain is speaking out after his cancer diagnosis. He says he'll be back in Congress shortly.
Also ahead this morning, students from Williamsville East getting ready to take the big stage tonight as they get an opportunity to sing with some rock stars.
And Habitat for Humanity helping to make Niagara Falls even more beautiful with a brand new home. The latest as volunteers prepare to break ground today. You're watching 7 Eyewitness News at 6.
6:40 on a Friday morning, the rock world suffering a loss this morning after the death of Linkin Park frontman Chester Bennington. He was found dead in his California home yesterday after police say he committed suicide. The 41-year-old died just days before his band was set to go on tour. Bennington died on what would have been fellow rocker Chris Cornell's 53rd birthday. Bennington was the godfather to Cornell's son.
Happening today, a new Habitat for Humanity project set to be started in Niagara Falls. That home will be built on 60th Street. It's going to have 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. The project will be completed in the spring of next year. Habitat for Humanity has a group of 15 volunteers, but they're going to need 200 to finish this project. So you can find out more on how you can get involved on our WKBW app.
How about this one? A popular magazine around Western New York, Buffalo Spree, celebrating 50 years in publishing with birthday party and ceremonial cake cutting as well. More than 600 guests will be treated to tastings from 22 of Western New York's best restaurants. We'll also see a tribute to honor Spree leader Larry Levette, who passed away in April. The event benefits the Ride for Roswell. Celebration kicks off at 7 o'clock tonight at Hotel Henry.
A kayaker on a trip in California says it turned into a nightmare when a great white shark attacked. You're going to hear from him coming up after he escapes this close call.
And Western New Yorkers hit hard by damaging winds. So is their property. We're taking a look at the aftermath after those 2 tornadoes touched down. 6:42. You're watching 7 Eyewitness News on a Friday.
It is 6:44. Welcome back. This morning, Senator John McCain vowing not to let his brain cancer diagnosis slow him down. McCain himself took to Twitter yesterday saying, "I greatly appreciate the outpouring of support. Unfortunately, for my sparring partners in Congress, I'll be back soon, so stand by." His colleagues on both sides of the political aisle showing their support.
John McCain is an American hero. There's no one who's done more to serve his country in this chamber than Senator McCain.
He has called me 3 times this morning. No more woe is me, Lindsay. He is yelling at me to buck up. So I'm going to buck up.
Yeah, man who has a lot of influence here. President Trump also called Senator John McCain Wednesday night after the news broke of his cancer diagnosis.
6:45, the Detweiler fire burning near Yosemite National Park in California is marching closer to even more homes this morning. Some new video into the newsroom showing how intense these flames still are, and new numbers show just how bad it actually is. 50 homes are gone this morning. 49 other buildings are also destroyed. 1,500 more are still in danger. Thousands are still under an evacuation order, though some refuse to leave. All right, a peaceful evening turns ugly for one kayaker when he comes face to face with a great white shark.
No, thank you. This happened off the coast of Santa Barbara. Brett Jackson says he's in his kayak and he sees open jaws coming right for him from below the waves. Hours earlier, a similar scenario played out at a nearby beach when an 8-foot-long great white bit off a chunk of a man's paddleboard. That paddleboarder wasn't hurt, and neither was Jackson, but he was a little rattled.
Grabbed on, like all this is like, you know, I didn't see it coming or anything. Just, I was getting bit on the side of the kayak just like that. And then it drove me sideways, I'm guessing like 2 or 3 feet, flipped me over without thinking. I just ended up on the bottom of the kayak, which was out of the water.
Yeah, you can actually see the bite mark there, and a shark expert measured it. He put the size of that shark at 11 to 13 feet.
When it comes to cyberbullying, Instagram is the worst social media network according to a new survey. The photo sharing app even beats out Facebook. That survey by anti-bullying group Ditch the Label found out of the 17% of people who were bullied online, 42% were bullied on Instagram. 69% of those surveys admit they bullied someone else online. Researchers say a major issue here is that young people have a major disconnect between what happens online and what happens in real life. 6:47 this morning, we're expecting to hear from elected leaders with Niagara County and North Tonawanda on a new solution to the city's 911 dispatch issues. The police union there has been calling for a separate dispatch channel for the city. We'll hear the details of that plan to create a new channel at North Tonawanda City Hall this morning at 10. A high school choir from Williamsville East is getting the chance of a lifetime to perform with an iconic rock band.
Students from the school won a video contest. They're going to perform with the band Foreigner at Darien Lake tonight. They're going to be singing backup during. They would like us to sing this, Ed.
Who said that?
The directors. I want to know what love is. Okay, we're done. The choir's been practicing for this all summer. Even though the band was popular before these students were even born, you can hear them singing. Sound a lot better than us.
Right.
But if you ask them to name another Foreigner song beside this one that they learned, they might not be able to tell you.
I think we've all heard it at least once from our parents, either on the radio or like in a movie or something.
They should know the 80s music. That's where all our great rock came from. Foreigner was actually my first concert that I attended when I was a young teenager at the Ralph.
What an opportunity for them. They sound amazing too. This performance, we know, going to bring a lot of generations all together tonight.
There is a lot of love around Western New York today. A lot of good neighbors helping each other clean up after those 2 tornadoes touched down yesterday, Autumn.
And you know what? After the storm, you may have lost some trees or maybe some campers or different things damaged at the Erie County Fairgrounds. But take a look at this.
I love this picture. I saw Jeff Rusak tweeted this
yesterday. Hand in hand, Jeff Rusak capturing just a beautiful moment with the destruction in the background. And the good news is no one was hurt. No one fatally hurt either. So let's take a look at it. Let's go through the day today. Facebook, Twitter, yes, we want all your storm damage pictures, but the beautiful pictures that show how great a day today is going to be, you can always send them to us as well. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, we're there all the time, and we'd love to share them from you as well, because you know what, you're out there a lot more than we are when we're in the studio, so we can see what's going on when we're here hunkering down. So thank you for all of your images and your videos as well. As we look at 7 Super Doppler, we have a wide shot of where we have storms. You have to go nearly all the way to Cincinnati to find any. And what we're going to see for the day today are calm conditions. We are very humid to begin the day. We're near about a mile worth of visibility for Niagara Falls, but down to around 1/3 of a mile for Bradford. So down through the valleys, you're going to find some patchy dense fog where it's more in a haze coming from Youngstown towards Niagara Falls, and then improves greatly through North Tonawanda, Grand Island, and into Buffalo. For the day today, we're going to find temperatures in the lower 80s. We'll have plenty of sunshine out there, a mix of sun and clouds through the afternoon. And then by Saturday, we still stick right near the 80-degree mark, but we're going to have some scattered storms around. And I want to spend a little bit of time on this because the southern tier is going to deal with it a lot more than the northern sections. Not to say that we're not going to get rain here in Buffalo and through Niagara Niagara Falls, but it's primarily the southern tier. As we go towards noon, everyone gets the cloud cover, and then right along the state line, we'll find some heavier rain at times. We'll watch for any flooding concerns that we have going through there, as some of that becomes a little bit on the stronger side. Even the potential for some gustier winds as well. That's northern Pennsylvania from Bradford to Cottersport. So any afternoon activities going from 2 to around 7 o'clock from Jamestown right to Cottersport, you may have to bring things inside. Otherwise, north of that, we'll have these spotty showers into the evening. You'll probably still be able to have your outdoor plans, just have the tents up. And looking at Saturday night, we'll have cloud cover, and beyond that, we go back to scattered storms into Sunday and even into Monday night to Tuesday. We'll have temperatures in the middle 70s. We'll get rid of some of that humidity, and then we'll bump things back to average as we head into the end of next week.
Autumn, thank you. We got to get you out the door this morning with your morning sprint. This is happening right now. Crews have been out around western New York. They're working to get the power back on after 2 tornadoes touched down. If you're looking at the scene overnight on Meadow Lane in Hamburg, it's one of the hardest hit areas. And we are seeing new videos and pictures from you this morning. But this amazing shot of the second tornado, the EF1 in Holland, came to us from Julie Spalding. Again, as you see damage, send pictures and video to us.
And Holland is one of those areas that's suffering a lot of power outages still this morning. Fewer than 1,000, but at the height of it, it was about 20,000 customers, at least from NYSEG, that were without power. You can still see I just updated these power outage numbers within the last 5 minutes. 1,600 NYSEG customers without power around Erie County. It's the folks in Colden and the folks in Holland who are, again, suffering the brunt of this. It's expected back on about 10 o'clock this morning, but we'll keep you posted throughout the day.
The cleanup is underway and continuing this morning here at the Hamburg Fairgrounds. Take a look at this debris, what was collected and what remains of yesterday's tornado that blew through Hamburg. The parking lot now cleared as crews are continuing to clear the area. Just a few weeks to go until the Erie County Fair. The communications manager says, as of right now, he's very happy people are safe, but all hands are on deck to meet the deadline.
Well, those gusts of winds reached high speeds in Hamburg yesterday, so strong that, look at that, one family's car picked up and tossed like a toy. And this video was caught on their security cameras and sent to us.
You're looking at the incredible damage on Best Street in Orchard Park. I spoke to some of the neighbors today. They say cleanup is on the mind today, as a lot of it has already come a long way, but there is still a long way left to go. A lot of the neighbors who were home yesterday when these 2 tornadoes touched down say all of it happened so eerily, and all of the damage that you see done happened in less than a minute. But make sure as you're cleaning up today, you're wearing heavy boots and gloves, because a lot of the injuries sustained come during the cleanup of a tornado.
The damage in Hamburg was so serious that Governor Cuomo had to come to western New York to survey the area. Cuomo deployed 100 National Guard members to help with the cleanup. Despite the damage here, the governor says he was happy to report there were no deaths from either of these 2 tornadoes.
Good news is that there were no fatalities, and there could have been. This was a very dangerous weather condition. So in that sense, we were lucky.
The governor also thanked first responders and police officers for jumping into action when the tornadoes hit the area.
And we've been seeing a lot of pictures of your damage that you sent us. One viewer in Orchard Park, well, look at this one. That's him next to a huge tree that got knocked over in these storms. And these pictures taken by our WKBW photographer at the fairgrounds. High winds there threw debris into cars, breaking windows, even sending a branch. You see it there through the back seat of one car.
Well, we've created a gallery of all of your pictures and videos. You can find it right now on our WKBW app. Continue to send us your pictures because we'll update our gallery throughout the day. This morning, an underwater earthquake that hit between Greece and Turkey leaves 2 dead and hundreds hurt.
These photos are from the Greece side where 2 people died. It was a magnitude 6.7. In Turkey, people ran in panic through the streets. At least 70 people there were hurt.
President Trump is reportedly asking about how much pardon power he has as the Russia investigation unfolds. The Washington Post is reporting the White House is reportedly looking into Mueller's team of investigators for possible conflicts of interest to discredit the probe.
In 3 months, former Buffalo Bill O.J. Simpson will be a free man. He was granted an early release from his 9 to 33-year sentence for kidnapping and armed robbery back in 2007. Retired State Supreme Court Justice Penny Wolfgang spoke with us about what comes next.
There's reporting. There's many conditions such as not associating with felons. There'll be drug testing. There may be alcohol testing. There's restrictions on leaving the state where you are in parole. So, and as I said, there may be others. You know, each state has different ones.
If his release plans are approved, Simpson could be out of prison as soon as October.
6:55, the man who admitted to lighting a volunteer firefighter's apartment on fire will be sentenced today. Matthew Gerardo pleaded guilty to arson in the fire at Ken Walker's home on Oliver Street in North Tonawanda last summer. Gerardo could be sentenced to up to 5 to 10 years in prison.
Today, the Big Yellow Barn in Clarence will be filled with music for Rock the Barn. Local bands like Bon Journey going to take to the stage to help raise money for Meals on Wheels. For more than a decade, this music event has attracted thousands. Rock the Barn starts at 4 and then it runs through Saturday.
And here we are almost at 6:56. Can't really tell the difference between the water and the cloud base this morning. Some low clouds, even some mist in spots from some fog this morning. What we're going to find are temperatures rising into the 80s, 80 degrees as we go into the middle of the day. And then we'll be in the low 80s and plenty of sunshine out there as well. A nice calm day on the way. We're going to be near 80 degrees by the time we get into our Saturday. A few scattered storms are going to be with us around Buffalo. Primarily the threat for heavier rain and an afternoon of rain is going to be the southern tier near the state line. And then our Sunday is very spotty, very scattered in nature for any storms. The highs there again will be right near 80 degrees.
Okay, Autumn, thank you. Before we go, we want to take you live one last time out to the Erie County Fairgrounds to take a look at the damage that they're dealing with there. Can we take it live out to, okay, well, you know what, actually, you can check that out right now on our Facebook page. We've got a look there. Liz Lewin was live there this morning.
Yeah, she's Facebook Living all morning long for us. You can check it out right now. Just search for WKBW TV. Thanks so much for making us your choice this morning. We're back Monday morning at 4:30. Have a great weekend.